going on, Bran? What's up, Bran? What's up, Liza? Liza, I think I unblocked you. Liza, I unblocked you. You were blocked. I don't know why you were blocked. You said, I think you said like, maybe you weren't. No, I went through my block list and I found after that session, like however many days ago that was, like a week ago, out of curiosity, and like you were blocked. So I don't know what happened with that. I don't know why you were in my blocked list. I'm just letting Instagram's story know. What's up, Rania? Ranra? Ranra? What's going on? Nishaf? What's up, Nishaf? All right, I'm just posting this to the story. Posting a story. Bashar, what's going on? Posted a story. Hassan, 3TH. Guys, give the live stream a like, por favor. 74% examined 7 days. Obviously, that's very strong. We're happy about that, right? We wanted 68 plus on 3 NBMEs, at least to pass step 1, so that's very good. Nausea, thank you for your great content. Ali Shama, what's happening? Ali Shama, Umair, Courtney. What's going on, Courtney? Akak, what's going on? Quace, what's going on? Bashar, scoring 80-90% second pass of CMS. Does that reflect score somehow? Well, that's good. So 40 to 45 out of 50. That's good. I don't use CMS as like, I wouldn't fixate on your CMS scores for the for any predictive value. Like obviously they would have predictive value in theory, but like just use the NBME scores for that. You know, like you finish the CMS and then you'll do your NBME 6 through 8 offline. You'll do a second pass of the CMS forms. You'll do free 120, and then you'll do 9 through 15. Werner, what's happening? Samira, what's going on? What's going on, Samira? Ray, 47. Hey man, these Anki reviews keep piling up for step 1, like they increase the pressure, plus learning new cards takes time. How can I manage other stuff with my Anki? Are you talking about Melman Anki, or are you talking about your own Anki? That's like the first question I have. Because if you're doing our Anki, guys, ask questions, because if you don't ask questions, I'm not going to continue the live stream, and I'll take a gap. You know what I'm saying? I can do another one in like 2 weeks or something. So ask questions, otherwise I'll stop doing these. Yeah, if you're doing Mehlman Anki, just make sure you're putting in the hours on them. It's not about how many cards you do. It's just it's the hours, and then your own cadence. You're gonna figure it out on your own. Omar, what's going on? Siam. If I do 20 to 25 NBME for practice and drill all the questions using question bank, and then do the real NBME 26 to 32, is that okay? No, I would do 20 through 32 as assessment. I would use actual QBank for just practice. Like do Mehlman QBank for practice, for learning the concepts, and then do actual the NBMEs for real assessment. You're basically finishing on NBME QBank if you want to think of it that way, right? So 20 through 32, that's your 13 forms. It's 2,600 questions, and free 120, it's 2,720 questions. Mehlman QBank is 2,700 questions for step 1. So you're doing NBME QBank basically after for assessment. And you can do the YouTube QBank. That's your third QBank right there, video. Guys, give the live stream a like. Nishath, your exams in 7 days. Last NBME, 69%. Well, that's good enough. Just don't mess up when you go in there. Do NBME, finish the NBMEs 20 through 32, but do 32 because it just came out. So finish the NBME, see how you go. Emmanuel, what's happening? Thanks for being a member. I know you're a member because you're green. Everyone else is gray. Ayo Tunde, how long do you think it would take to do all your PDFs if you did them for 4 hours every day? That depends on you because this is a big spectrum. Some people it takes them a week to read a PDF. Other people it takes them, they can do it in one afternoon. It would take me a few days to do one of my PDFs now because I'd get ADHD like reading. So I can understand if like someone felt that way. Like I prefer like active learning as well, but like I could technically finish one of my PDFs in like like an hour, but like if I'm a student, it would take me like a few days. Ray 47. Let's see. Bashar, you're redoing NBMEs 9 through 12. Is that a good idea to enhance your, or should you not do them again? I'd want to know your situation. Like I'd want to know your scores. I'd say, did you do all the CMS twice? Did you do 6 through 8 also? Did you do free 120? Why are we singling out 9 through 12 to redo those? It's Yazan. Is it worth doing USMLE in Palestine? Why not? Is that a problem? I don't see why that would be a problem. It's Nepal. That's the country that had the problem. That was like the main issue. I think if you want to sit in your home country, that's not a problem. Raj, good to see you. Eddie, what's happening? PDF question. I know you said don't take notes, and that you should remember everything you read. I said you don't have to remember everything you read. So should you just read once or do should you go back to the PDFs first? I mean, you can read the PDFs multiple times. You know, like when people were doing first aid, it's like you would read first aid 3 times and still not know everything. So when you do the PDFs, like you could technically do like 3 passes. The same way if you're doing the Mehlmanmedical, there's going to be cards that come up for review, right? So if you do those cards again, you're going to end up doing like 5 passes of the Mehlmanmedical, right? That's how it works. So it's like doing 5 passes of the PDFs. So you're not supposed to remember everything. Same with QBank. I said, don't take notes, don't annotate, don't make your own self Anki from QBank. Just try to remember the best you can. But if you remember, let's say 20 to 25% of the content, the high yield stuff's going to repeat and all that will accumulate. And then you know enough. Jez, you're dedicated. How many PDFs should I go through daily? I was just saying how it could take you like, even if you know stuff really well, you might space out trying to like read everything in a day. But that just depends on your strength. If you know the content really well, you can breeze through the PDFs. Slay. Lots of people having scores invalidated for suspected cheating. I don't know. That's not really something that I'm involved with. It's something that concerns me. So if somebody obviously tries to take shortcuts, there's no shortcuts in life, okay? In terms of you got to put in the work. So I wouldn't recommend getting yourself involved with taking malign shortcuts. It's not a good idea. If you do things the right way, if you just have good intent and you like do what you're supposed to do, why would there be a problem? So just like, you know, if you're going to get like a 284 and you're in like, you know, Tibet, that might raise an eyebrow, especially when other people around you are getting like 282s or something. Like that's how you get into problems. So if you're like actually extremely brilliant, you have to think about what country you're sitting in. Dr. Mo, is NBME 32 different concepts than 31? I have not looked at it, but my answer would be no. And how do I know that? Because it's the same, it would be the same answer as, is NBME 31 different from 30? Is 30 different from 29? It's the same thing. So you're going to get some weird questions. I mean, it's like that in any form, but the concepts repeat. The concepts repeat. So, Ajibola commented a couple days ago, but I recently got 266s on my CBSE. I remember reading that. And then you took form 29 today, you got a 75. Good. Planning to take step 1 a couple weeks. Once I get ECFMG approved, am I good? But I would sit the others, obviously do 30, 31, 32. And did you do back all the way to form 20 as well? Just reproduce those data points. You know, you don't want a singular 25 and then not know whether that's reproducible. But if you're taking NBMEs you've never sat and you can reproduce scores that are 68 plus, then that's auspicious for you performing well on the real deal, right? Bran, I miss live stream days when you'd be riding skateboard around Japan. I mean, I could do that. When was that? It was like 2 years ago. Yeah. I used to do live streams from IG when I was on my skateboard. NB, is it true about step 2 CK has more GI and psych questions? I would say probably not. The NBME is the USMLE is pretty explicit with their percentage breakdowns. Like they have that stuff on their site. Like you can have a form that feels like it's emphasized on one subject more than another, but it's like not. You know, like you'll remember stuff that gave you problems. So if you're struggling with like obs-gyn and you get like 3 anatomy questions on obs-gyn on like the ligaments or something, then that's going to be what you remember. You're going to be like, oh my God, I had these like repro anatomy questions that were so hard and my exam was all repro. It's like, it wasn't all repro. It's just you sucked at repro and that's what you remembered. But like why would GI be like singled out on like surgery is a lot of GI. Maybe that's what you're referring to. Surgery, like hepatobiliary, those questions are high yield. Yes. Surgery is a lot of GI. I think that's what you mean. Psych, I mean, hit or miss, right? Ayotunde, if you have CBSE in the second week of October, when should I start an NBME? I'd want to know how much QBank you've done to this point. And if you sat any other NBMEs to this point, I just want to know where you're at in terms of scores. Guys, give the live stream a like. Gabriel, you just finished step 2 CK 2 days ago. Did not have trouble with question timing, but felt very natural doing the exam. I'm really unsure about how well I did. Is this common? Yes, it's common. How you feel is irrelevant in terms of what you actually scored. That's a known thing. It's a known thing. Okay, so there's anecdotes across the spectrum. There's people where they feel like they failed and they did really well, and there's people who feel like they did well and then they didn't do well. So I've heard anecdotes across the spectrum. So rather than going by the subjectivity, we go by the objectivity of what your scores were. So you're most likely to just score where you had performed on the NBMEs leading up to your exam. Let me see. Chat moved on me. Courtney, your university does rotations in second year. Students take shelves throughout this year and they're expected to take step 1 after rotation year. Is it worth doing step 2 prep or step 2 first since it just finished rotations? That's annoying. The answer is no. Do step 1 prior to step 2 because you're going to score higher on step 2 if you do step 1 first, even if it's annoying in terms of how it factors into your rotations. Okay, because that you're going to know if you do this is what's going to happen. If you do a step 2 first, you're going to do fine, whatever. You're going to get certain questions wrong. Then you're going to go do step 1 and you're going to be like, dude, there's going to be things that show up on step 1 where you're like, this was on my 2CK and I got wrong. That's what's going to happen. And you're going to be like, well, if I had done step 1 first, I would have encountered this, I would have known this, and then I wouldn't have gotten that wrong on my 2CK, and I would have scored higher on 2CK. So I don't like people studying for step 1 when they're on rotations. I hate that. It's not a good situation to try to co-study step 1 and step 2. It's not a good situation for people. Lucas, greetings from Brazil. There's quite a few of you guys from Brazil lately. What is the best way to review social communication systems for 2CK in the last few weeks? Well, it applies to step 1 also. I mean, social communication systems. We've got a communication ethics PDF. And QBank is loaded with that stuff for the different steps. But in general, all that stuff's EQ. Okay, a lot of that stuff's just your intuition and, get a patient scenario. And it's like, what's the most empathetic thing to say in that scenario, right? Like, so those types of scenarios on the exam, oftentimes you can't prepare for. A lot of it's just intuition, EQ. It's Yazana asked, Dr. Mike, do you have a microbiology PDF you didn't see on the website? We have microbiology modules and we have a microbiology course. And QBank is loaded with micro. Lico Kiko. How long should the QBank take me if I'm only grinding the QBank and NBME forms? The 2,700 questions. Month to a month and a half, right? And then you can do the Anki in the evenings, 4 hours in the evenings. There's anecdotes, as I've said, of people doing like the Anki 12 hours a day. Okay? There's a girl who just posted in the Telegram group about doing the Anki 12 hours a day and how she aced her CDSE. We have those anecdotes. But in general, like I think people should do like QBank also. Suhaib, Jaber, you failed step 3 for the 3-digit. You did Ambos, and a lot of the first day was a lot of step 1, biostats ethics. For our step 3 QBank, for Mehlman step 3 QBank, we throw in a lot of step 1, okay? I've thrown in a lot of step 1 because I've heard that as well. That's feedback I've received as well from people who've done step 3 is that there's a lot of step 1-esque stuff on there. So, and we don't know whether a lot of that's experimental. They want to see which subjects people forget over time. But yes, it is true. Like you'll be studying for step 3 and there's like, what's the mechanism of action of an aminoglycoside, 30S, like that type of stuff shows up on step 3, I've heard as well. Dr. Medi, how to retain. But also, guys, I just want to point this out. There's step 1 on step 2. So it's not just like step 1 is showing up on step 3 and it's like a weird phenomenon. Like there's step 1 questions on step 2 also. Like I look at the comments, like those of you who are doing Mehlman QBank, if you submit a comment at the bottom of a question, like one student was like, this one's step 2 question, or this one's step 2 question, and they're doing the step 1 QBank, like they're complaining that it seems like this is, and I'm like, I like look at the questions, I'm like, this is fucking fair game for step 1. It's like there is some overlap both directions. There is some overlap. Like you should know, like oxybutynin is how you treat urge incontinence, like even for step 1 as an example. Like there's some things that are like, it's not 100% like clean. They're never going to ask you a next best step of management on step 1. It's just not as prevalent as step 2. And vice versa. How to retain 30% of QBank with 40% are still not feeling confident. Just finish the QBank. Don't worry about your percentages because it's like being in the gym and saying like, I've been running on the treadmill for 3 weeks and I still am fat and what should I do? And the answer is like, continue running on the treadmill anyway, right? Isn't it? It's the same thing. So you just got to keep going with it. Slay, what's an estimated, what's the estimated cheat gains for steps and they don't hurt our score? What does that mean? Jets, thanks. Suhaib. I want to use your bank for step 3. It will help me pass the next time, ? Yes, it will help you pass. NB, my biggest obstacle is doing long stems 2CK. Questions, do you have any tips or techniques how to do long stems? Yes. Glance at the answer choices first. Glance at the last couple lines. About 25 to 33% of the time, you can get the answer from the last few lines. If you can't get the answer, start glancing around the paragraph like it's a wordless collage. Try to find keywords that are in there. If you still can't get the answer, then start reading from the beginning. If I see a long question, I don't start reading from the beginning until maybe like 7 to 10 seconds after looking at it, if I still can't get the answer. Okay, so we've put long stems in the QBanks as well. If you're doing Mehlman QBank and you've encountered some like extremely long poetic type stems, that's me trolling. That's no one else. That's me. That's me. Okay? And it's satisfying to me to write a very trolling long question. That for some reason is like satisfying and like it's how you entertain yourself at some point. But it's not like all in it's still practice for you. Ivan, you're asking what in QBank for step 2 what in UWorld for step 2 makes it so big, 4,000 questions. Would you say that is excessive? Absolutely. I purchased your step 2 QBank because of the style and because it was shorter. We don't want a longer QBank. We've capped it. Like step 1's at 2,700 plus. It's like 2,707 or something. Step 2 is at 2,450. Like we don't want it to be longer. So we don't want it to be longer. When I did UWorld back in 2012, it was like 2,150 questions. Step 3 QBank was 1,300 questions. No one complained about size then. So 4,000, way too much. Yeah. Will Doick, Mike, you previously mentioned that having a chip on your shoulder drove you during your step 1 days, but what drove you after to talk with your roommate? I said that my drive to score high on USMLE originally for step 1 was because I was trying to prove myself to my dad. And I was in a share house with 5 other people. And I had an Aussie housemate so I was in Australia, and he said, like, you talk about your dad a lot in the context of your education and your study and stuff. He's like, you have to get out from under your dad. That's what he said to me. That was like a pivotal conversation when I was like, how old was I? Well, give away my age. I was in med school, but he was like, you have to get out from under your dad. And I was like, he's right. Because every time I would like be thinking like, how would my dad think about this? How would my dad view this? It was always about like my dad, through my dad's lens. And I realized I was like, I'm doing this to try to prove to my dad. But he was the one who raised that subject to me. But I'm mentioning this because a lot of you guys, like if you have a chip on your shoulder, like you're trying to prove something to your mom, or like you're trying to prove something to like, your family or something, that actually can be a driving force for like doing better. Right? But that's how a lot of you actually are. You actually are trying to prove something, like usually to a parent, like one parent over another usually. And that can create resentment at some point. And like a few years later, it kind of came to the surface. And I chatted with my dad about that. Everything's good now, but like those are conversations you have with your parents when you're like in your 20s. Those childhood things that like you have issues with your parents about certain things, and you can't blame your parents, and then those conversations occur later. Styles etc. After UWorld first pass, unused questions 68%. What is the best move forward? You have 68% unused in UWorld first pass. Is that what you're saying? What's the best move? I would tell you to just continue with QBank. That's what I would say. Now, do you want to switch to Mehlman QBank? I don't know. If you're a poor person, you don't have to. But just if you do our QBank also, then you would have the benefit of the juxtaposition of UWorld in comparison to Mehlman QBank, and you would say, fuck, Mehlman's is better. I'm going to stop doing UWorld. And I'm not preaching. It's that anecdotally, people have messaged me saying that they've stopped Ambos or they've stopped UWorld after starting our QBank. And if you were like yesterday, if you were encountering issues with like your blocks, like slowing down, clicking, submitting, whatever, we apologize about that. It's because our QBank has grown a lot faster than we thought. And we hit like basically hitting capacity for things. And we're having to like change servers and all this other nonsense. But trust me, it's annoying for everybody involved. For everybody involved. It's a good problem, but it's still an annoying problem. But we don't want it to be a problem for you guys. You know, you're doing a block and you click submit, and it doesn't submit or something. It's like, yeah, we're updating for those 10 minutes. Sorry. But then it's like 30 of you at once, like, sorry. But it's grown a lot faster than we anticipated. And even, you know, our developers and stuff, they suggested a certain capacity and speed in the beginning based on what I said I thought we would need, and I chose double that from the start, and we already hit the capacity on that. I'm like, how the fuck did we hit the capacity on that? Like, how the hell did we hit capacity on that? So are you fucking kidding me? Arish, exam in 2 weeks. Should I just review previous NBMEs and do the rest of assessments, or should I do marked questions on UWorld as well? If your exam is in 2 weeks, just focus on NBMEs. I said the terminal 3 weeks should be NBMEs, especially the terminal 2 weeks. Dr. Amar, you failed step 1. Can you still match to neurology? Yes. Just pass, do well in TCK, don't have entitlement with where you're applying, apply to transitional years, prelim years as well. You'll be fine. A lot of people fail in match. You can't have entitlement. That's what it comes down to. You can't fail and then say, I'm going to go to MGH. No. But you can apply to Mississippi, apply to Arkansas. There's nothing wrong with those places. It'd be great. I'm sure there's really good food down in Mississippi. Right? Maybe like Creole influence or oysters, or, you know, there's got to be some good stuff down in Mississippi. I'd rather go to residency in Mississippi than, like, I don't know, New York. You can't have entitlement where you go. That's what it comes down to. So you got to apply broadly. Abdul, thanks for all you do. With 8 months until comp, 8 months, would using NBME 18 alongside Mehlman, Anki, and YouTube QBank be a smart way to prime my brain for the NBME style? Why did you single out NBME 18? And you're 8 months out. I wouldn't touch an NBME in any form right now at all. You could in theory, why not? But I wouldn't. Just do QBank. Just do Mehlman QBank right now. You know, if you want to dabble in the NBMEs, you can do those after QBank. The lad. I don't like that prep method. I don't like that prep method. The lad. Yeah, I could go off about that. Have you used our YouTube clips? Have you used our YouTube QBank? The lad? Dr. Medi, if someone has 2 years clinical gap, can you still match? Yeah, I've talked about this. I've talked about how you can have time off, and as long as you score well, they won't care, really. Like 2 years is kind of borderline long, yes. Maybe kind of, like a year is fine. 2 years is like, why 2 years? Like, what did you do in 2 years? But like, if you take like 6 months to a year off and you're like just studying for STEP and you're traveling or whatever, you could just score high and you'd have no problem matching. But 2 years is sort of like, it's not that they, it comes down to competency, concerns about your competency. Because if you're taking 2 years off, they wonder about like, can you still do a physical exam? Like those are the problems that they're concerned about. Dinesh, you're using QBank and CDSC. What's the recommendation? Getting 65% in my QBank. I don't think you should worry about your percentage correct in QBank. Just finish it and use Mehlmanmedical in the evenings. You can do the PDFs, of course. I'm just saying that you can do either and do our video QBank as well. That's right, Courtney. You retract that message. That's right, Courtney. But you can do just finish Mehlmanmedical QBank, Dinesh, and don't worry about your percentages. Let me scroll back up. Chat moved on me. Let's see. Ideal NBME before, after, first pass the material, post grad. Always NBMEs last. You never do NBMEs first, ever. You always do QBank first before NBMEs. Sheila, why are people here still mentioning UL or Ambos? Because they're cuck. That's why. Liza, what would you advise for someone who, but that's a very good question, Sheila. Very good question. Liza, what would you advise for someone who tends to overwork themselves? When I was studying for step 1, I used to study 15, 16 hours a day and couldn't make myself stop. I even got insomnia from stress. You either overwork or you overlive. And it's okay to have seasons of overworking, quote unquote. That's okay. So if you're doing a lot of work, just go to the gym daily and work and just have very, very limited social interaction as needed. And it's okay to be in a routine. You either overlive or you overwork. And as I've said, the people who go out a lot and who watch movies and take it easy, those are the people who in 5 to 10 years, those are the people who think about prices. Successful people punt seasons of their lives. If you were to take 1,000 people off the street and you were to take like the 5 people who make the most money and you talk to them about like what they've done, they would say, all I did is work. They'd be like, yeah, I punted this year. I punted 2020, whatever it is. There's going to be a story about that. These things don't happen by accident. Okay. Crypto pump, whatever, 1 in 10,000 people, fine. But like most people, you punt. So it's okay to overwork. The lad, you feel so slow reading textbooks, watching videos, but studying directly from QBank feels like I'm guessing the answers first. That's fine. Not sure what to do anymore. I'm overwhelmed. That's fine. You can learn from QBank directly. You don't have to pre-read and feel like you need to do well in QBank. You have permission to get 40% in QBank. You have permission to get 35% in QBank. That's fine. That's fine. Just don't expect to like, if you're getting like 30% because you literally know zero, you know, you can go through Mehlmanmedical QBank and like, you know, you'll learn everything you need to. Hopefully you'll be okay with the NBMEs at that point. But people are going to have different strengths coming in. You can't take some like, you know, rando off the street, have them do Mehlmanmedical QBank and they pass the NBMEs. Like you have to have a certain, it's expected that you have a certain foundation. The same way it's expected you have an undergrad degree with basic sciences and you have a certain level going in. Like, you need to know what a cell is. You need to know what a mitochondrion is. There's certain expectations. But I don't think you need to like pre-read. Like, I don't think you need to sit with my PDFs for a month and then feel like, okay, now I'm ready to do QBank. I'm flattered if you want to do that. It's not that you can't do that. I just think it's good to be on questions daily. That's what I think. Courtney, should QBank just be a learning tool or do I need, that's what I just said. Yeah, I just answered it. Gabriel, Mike, never studied through a QBank. What is the best way to do it efficiently through the explanations? You're just going to read and not take notes and not make your own Anki or anything like that. It's fine. So it should take you 45 minutes to an hour to do a block of 10 questions. 1 minute to read the question, 5 minutes to do the explanations, a minute per answer choice, 6 minutes per question, 10 questions, that's an hour. You can go faster on some that are really easy, maybe a little bit slower on those that are harder or longer. But overall, 45 minutes to an hour per block of 10 questions. That's fine. If you already know things, if your knowledge base is already very strong, sure, you can go through a block pretty quickly. I'm just saying, like, if you're spending like an hour doing a block, that's not the end of the world. But it shouldn't take you much longer than that. Dawit, should I just go with your PDFs if I've done almost no immuno prep? Our immuno PDF is like top notch. I've had people like rave about the immuno PDF to me. That immuno PDF, when I wrote it, I put effort into that because, immuno requires a story, basically. Like, my criticism of like FA back in the day when I studied in 2012 was that it didn't really like teach a story. Like, immuno, it was just a lot of like random immuno, but didn't make sense. Like, you read the immuno chapter and you're like, I don't get immuno. So I kind of start off the immuno. If you notice, it's sequential. It's kind of like, what do I need to know about B cells? What do I need to know about T cells? What do I need to know about NK cells for USMLE? What is humoral immunity? What is cell-mediated immunity for USMLE? It's like it starts off very, very, very like basic and like works its way up. It requires a story. Abraham, should I start studying for step 1 at the end of first year as an IMG? First year as an IMG, just start studying immediately for step 1. You should basically be studying for step 1 from like first day of med school. What else would you be studying for? Like your school's bullshit PowerPoints? Like, what are you studying? If you're going to do QBanks from the start of med school, like basically you could do all of Mehlman QBank. You would have time to do the others. You'd have time to do our video QBank on the YouTube. That's a QBank. You'd have time to go through all the PDFs. Ophthalmology, derm, genetics. You have time to go through all of them. IO Tunde, you've done UWorld once, doing your QBank now. You've done 66% with a score of 65. Never done NBME before, so when do you think I should start doing them if the CBSE second week of October? You could start doing them the start of October. So you could take 20 through maybe 20 to 26, or 20 to 27 prior to your CBSE. And then after your CBSE, you could do 28 through 32. You could do like 120 and 28 through 32 after your CBSE. That's one option. Daniel Farouk, I've stopped worrying about forgetting things. QBanks during learning, take care of everything. That's something you got to know. Styles, etc., postgrad. Is that not good to start from step 2 CK? Always start with step 1 prep. Soha. If someone has a low score on CK, how can they improve on step 3? How can you work around it for residency applications since score matters? You can't work around it. Step 2 CK matters. It matters. But you can, the way to improve on step 3 is to do, obviously, Mehlman step 3 QBank, but the CMS forms that you do for 2CK, you want to do all those for step 3. And you want to do all the 2CK NBMEs for step 3 also. And you're going to have to do CCS cases every evening. Don't neglect the CCS cases every evening. You got to do those. Bust out like 3 of them. They take like 10 minutes each. Siddiqui, good to see you again. How to do time blocks in step 2 CK. What? You're talking about the real 2 CK, how to time your blocks. Do you mean breaks? 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, all the way through is your breaks. Okay, don't take extended breaks. And I would recommend doing the first 2 blocks back to back with no break. Take 60 seconds sitting at your desk without leaving the testing room, if you can help it. If there's no tragedy or major stress that occurs in the first block, your level of wakefulness is good, which it should be. Your level of caffeine is good. Just take 60 seconds sitting at your desk, kind of just be like, all right. And then you just go right into the second block. And then just 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes for your breaks all the way through. No extended lunch break. For all the steps, that's how it should be. NB, Ishinoshi, you're getting super varied scores, you say. 64%, 60%, 80%, 67%, 70%. What does this mean? I would say your lowest score, if it was recent, is what we want to think about. So you say you got a 60 on NBME 21. I'd want to know when that was. How recent was that? Nobody really goes from a 60 to an 80. That doesn't really happen like that quickly. I'd want to know when you sat 21. Taha, that's a good troll. I mean, I know you're joking. It's got to be a joke. You're like, I'm not joking. I was serious. I asked that question. I mean, if it was a joke, which I assume it was, then cool. If it's not a joke, then you need to listen to better people. The influences you have, they don't know what they're doing. Suhaib, does the first day in step 3 affect the degree if I do badly at biostats ethics, even if I did well at CCS cases, 70, 80%? How should I overcome the questions that I didn't know about? I'm not really sure what you're asking. Just you have to do well in the MCQ across the board, obviously, and then you're going to do well in the CCS cases. Like, what is the specific question there? It's a 2-day exam, but you got to do well in the MCQ both days, right? Mahdi, 45 to 50 mins in, it takes you to complete solving a block, and 4 to 5 hours to review, including taking notes. That's the time consumption right there. Don't take notes. I think I consume time per block. You don't need to take notes. You want strategies to be able to solve 80 per day. I just told you, Mahdi. Al-Salawi. You're just going to do blocks of 10, and you're not going to take notes or make Anki. You're just going to read. And if you're worried about forgetting, just relax. Just read anyway. Literally, that's all you're going to do. Howdy, 101. Live Q&A season again this year, 2025. I could stop these anytime. Let me see. For those of you guys who don't know, like I did a lot of these live streams in the summer of 2023, and then I just stopped entirely and for like 2 years till now. Thoughts on looks maxing? I think women care way more about looks in men than men care about looks in women. That's what I think. Courtney, what specialty do you practice? USMLE. So if you're a pediatrician, you're going to know a lot about peds. Okay. Now, all I do is USMLE. That's all I do. So I teach USMLE. I write USMLE. I know USMLE better than the people who write the exam. Like, it's not a question to me. I know I do. So whoever these mystery people, these like figures in the clouds, whoever these people are that write the exams, if I were to like be in a conference room with them, like I could basically like, I'd be like, you know, I could direct that meeting. Pranav, I have my step 1 in 2 weeks and I'm done with UWorld first pass and 60% first pass. NBME's 20, so you have 65, 69, and 64. What should be my strategy now? Complete the rest of NBMEs. In between, what should I do? If your step 1 is in 2 weeks, just do the rest of the NBMEs 20 through 32 in free 120. That's your strategy. I said, guys, your terminal 3 weeks should be nothing but NBMEs. What specialties do you think will wither away by 2050s? I don't think humans are going to really be doing any of the diagnostic, are not going to be carrying any of that diagnostic prowess or usefulness by the 2050s. That'll all be AI. But humans are going to have a role with like patient interaction. Like patients are still going to want to interact with humans. But all the diagnosis will be AI. All radiology will be AI. I think radiology is most in trouble. I think radiology, that's most in trouble. Because I think any AI will be, once AI becomes good enough, they'll be able to evaluate those images, and then it will pretty much be like, humans will double check. I think that's that's the transition that's going to occur. Is I think like you'll have radiologists that will like ask AI for second opinions. So radiologists will like still be in control, and then it'll flip. It'll be like the AI does the diagnosis, the human checks it, the radiologist checks it and is like, yeah, that was right. The AI fucking got it right. Or like, I didn't fucking notice that. You noticed that, I didn't see that. It's going to flip. I think radiology is most in trouble. Armin, you used UWorld on and off for a long time. It became inconsistent. You just purchased and started QBank. Very good decision, Armin. Right now, NBME is 25 to 27. Your score's around 50. Well, it's not where we want it to be, Armin. You want 65 plus to pass, 68 plus in multiple NBMEs. Your first 2 blocks in QBank, 55%. How much time do you think I should plan to finish your QBank? 40 questions a day, but for you in particular, I would get through Mehlmanmedical. You have to understand something. I've articulated this before. It's a balance between like, it's not like I push my content to be an asshole. It's that I have a responsibility to tell you how to get your scores up. And it just happens to be that our content, a lot of it, which the best stuff happens to be paid, is the way to do it. However, if you're the type of person where you're struggling to pay your phone bill, for instance, you can do the Mehlman PDFs, right? But I think you should do the Anki because I think that's about speed. It's about speed. Okay. But if you're worried about like a sandwich is $12 versus like, $15, like if that's the problem, then like just do the PDFs. Ahmad, Dr. Mike, how to study even but it was a very, very, very good decision to invest in our QBank. Ahmad, how to study even when I despise it. If you despise it, you have to ask yourself why you're doing it. Are you trying to prove it to a parent? You can finish your degree and then you can do something else. Like when I was on my last rotation of med school, I was coincidentally paired with another dude in my class where like the two of us were not planning on practicing. Like I was finishing med school and I was like, I'm moving to fucking Japan. So I said, I'm moving to fucking Japan. And then I was like, I'm gonna do an immersion school in Japan. And he was like, well, I'm going into like law. He's like, fuck this. He's like, I'm going to law. Not even medical law. He's like, I'm just switching to law after I get my med degree. But if you despise it, then, you can think about alternative routes. But if it's merely that you just really don't like the study, but you want to do medicine, then it comes down to doing the work regardless of how you feel, which I've had that as a theme on some of the IG posts recently in the X Twitter. It's about doing work regardless of how you feel. You have to just do it anyway. Calm Iran, good to see you again. Thank you so much for your work. NBME is 83, obviously very high. That percentage does exam day. Will the exam day be easier? Yes. 83 is very high. Dr. S, what if I took NBMEs, you scored in the 40 to 50s? That was a year ago. Can I use them as an evaluation now? You cannot. Once you touch NBMEs, can't touch them again. Now, well, you can do them again, but I'm saying not for predictive value. Because even if you get like a 72, it's like doesn't mean anything. You touched them in the past. You think you don't remember it, but maybe you'll get 7 questions right because you took it a year ago, and that's not accurate. So we just don't. You can do the other forms though. We've got 32, 1 through 32. 6 through 8 don't exist. 14 doesn't exist. Damiano Custa, do you think 82% is good for NBMEs 2021-22? Yes. You feel like you're stalling. 82% is good, obviously. Naji Hamshari, your PDFs are free, but what are the high yield premium courses? Are they different than the PDFs? That's micro, farm, biochem, biostats. They're modules with quizzes. That's what they are. The PDFs you can read, but there's certain ways to boost yourself beyond the PDFs. Striker, best advice for shelf exams. For each shelf exam right now, you could do QBank. So you'll do Mehlman QBank subject. Let's just single out pediatrics. You'll do the pediatrics questions for Mehlman QBank. You'll do the pediatrics playlist on the YouTube that we have here for the Mehlman Peds questions, right? You'll do the Peds PDF. You'll do the CMS, those 8 forms. You'll do those for your shelf. In 2 to 3 months' time, we're going to have shelf QBanks released. So we'll have 1,000 question Peds QBank. Okay, we're going to have that for Peds, OBSGYN, EMIM, FM, Surge, Neuropsych. 1,000 questions each, in addition to the 2CK3 QBanks. So you could do that. So in like 2 months, the conversation will be, you'll do like Mehlman 2CK QBank. Let's say you could do Peds still, untimed tutor randomly. You'll do the 1,000 Peds QBank and the CMS forms. Sai, Krishna, 40% of QBank step 1 with 60% corrects. Planning to do NBME is NBME 20. What do you suggest? Exam end of October. Don't touch NBMEs until, if your exam is literally Halloween, then you can do like, you can start NBME 20 on like the 7th of October, arbitrarily. If you're really weak, I would start earlier. But if you're stronger, just 7th to 10th of October. So just bust out QBank between now and then. That's it. You'll be fine. Lad, studying with QBank questions with no pre-reading, as you said. Won't the knowledge be fragmented because each question explanation will be different? It's going to be like a puzzle, like a pixelated picture that comes together over time. That's how it works with QBank. So you get a question on like placenta previa, you read about it. Get a question on rheumatic heart disease, you read about it. Get a question on cystic fibrosis, you read about it. Just all these things are gonna, little details and concepts, and they just come together over time. 2:56, step 2. I'm only gonna do an hour. It's 5:12 a.m. here in Japan, cracked out. I go to sleep at like 8 a.m. I sleep from like 8 until like 2 p.m. And then I took a nap from like, I took a nap at like midnight. I took a power nap at midnight. I don't know why I'm talking about my sleep, but I'm just saying I'm like cracked out. That's why I'm going to finish this in like at the end of the hour here. We're like almost there. Let me just scroll through some of these questions. Yeah, I don't know about NBME 32 yet. None of us do. How much is Mehlman QBank? That's a good question. You know why that's a good question? Because people who ask prices don't do our QBank. If you're asking the price, don't go anywhere near us. We don't want you anywhere near us. It means you're poor. And we just want you doing our free stuff. Our PDFs are 11 out of 10. Like a Ferrari dealership doesn't want like people from the local Walmart loitering outside. They're like, stay the fuck away. You know? It's because people who are reaching, if like the Mehlman QBank is going to be like 60% of your bank account where you have nothing left, those types of people are very resentful and they complain and they're a headache for everybody. We don't want those people anywhere near us. Howdy, this is the last question. Howdy, is there a reason? Is there a season when USMLE papers are easier? Like, is it a myth about winter break and all this stuff? It doesn't matter when you sit. No, that is a myth. That is a myth. It doesn't matter. Because those forms, they just go by like the students throughout the year who sit those forms. Like you're going to get a form. Let's just arbitrarily say there's like 150 versions of the step 1 and step 2 that exist out there. I don't even think there's that many, to be honest. But let's say there's like 100. You would just be compared throughout the year to those who's the curve based on those who sit that form. I know pretty much that they recycle entire blocks. I know that. It's not just questions that recycle. Like they also will recycle entire blocks. And I know that because I have my ways of knowing that. Okay? I have my ways of knowing that. Armin, thanks for answering. Just purchased your Anki deck too. You plan to do 40 questions a day from Mehlman QBank. How many are Anki cards per day? Don't worry about the number of Anki cards per day. It's just the number of hours per day that matters. Just do at least 4 hours of the Anki per day. Sabika, thanks. So we did the hour, and you guys know I'll do probably some more of these.